Let's turn some of this off. Hey everybody, Pantless Dan here. Sorry, I'm just gonna do a little check, make sure this is working. Might cut this out later. Can you hear me? Yes, you can hear me. Okay, so this is the second attempt at my rig rundown. I did one yesterday, but none of the audio was recording properly, other than the amp, so it was a bunch of silence and me playing, and then silence and then me playing. So this is the second attempt. This is the board. I made a post about it yesterday with some sound samples, but we're going to go through some stuff here. Got a Korean Fender Strat through a 90s Fender Blues Deluxe, which is currently on the Fritz. You probably heard that in the first little intro, that's why I cut out there. But playing at low volumes, it should be okay. So here's the board then. Oh, I've got a Sennheiser E835 recording. Alright, so first up, Strat does Strat things. That's a clean tone. No amp reverb. The spring is alright, but it's not great. It's kind of boingy and muddy, so I don't use it all that much these days. Been using the RV5 a lot. We'll get to that at the end. Actually, no, I'm going to do it now. This is usually how I have it set about. Which is level down, time down, tone a long way down, and then either on the hall or the modulate setting. But I'll talk about that more near the end. First up, Boss TU3 tunes things. That's all I really need to say about that. Second in the chain is Madbean Kingslayer V2, which I built about 3 years ago. And a year and a half ago, I swapped the clipping diodes in it to Germanium something and a vintage something else. I don't really remember what. There's just volume, tone, gain. One of these is a fat switch. One of these switches the clipping diodes. I don't really remember which one does which. I just know that on the setting it has right here, this is about how I like it. Kind of basic breakup sound. I often just keep that as a rhythm tone and stack other things with it. If I really open it up here, it's quite... Oh, shit. Sounds like a nice boutique drive. If I have the switches in, it's a little tighter sounding. I can use it just as a clean boost. But that's that. Usually it's about here. It stacks really well with everything else, and usually I just keep it right about there. I don't really need to do much else. Yeah, there's a weird thing I get when I turn the gain all the way down. You get that little click and this weird little like oscillation sound. It doesn't seem to hurt anything, but I don't really know what caused it. It's always done that, but it's not really enough of an issue that I feel like I should do something about it. So that is the Kingslayer. Next is the new Runoff Groove Supreaux Deux that I finished well, a couple days ago, sort of. It sounds like this. got a lot of low end with the gain here. If you're really cranky, you can hear. And then if you dial that back a bit, get that nice like amp-like breakup. It's an amplifier circuit, so that's what it is. This circuit is more commonly known as the JHS Superbolt, which I will not get into here. Tone control is kind of subtle. I didn't expect that. Maybe I did something wrong. Fat switch, that's off, on. It's got a lot of end that I like, and it stacks well with the Kingslayer. Next week. Next goes up to this line selector, which has this Radioshack unit in the loop. And this is the pedal that I get asked about every time I post a picture of my board. What it is a it's a reverb unit that you're supposed to run microphones through, and it's actually, the reverb is a 50 millisecond analog delay. There's Bucket Brigade chip in there and everything. But when you run a hot guitar signal through it, it distorts in that like direct to console type way. It's kind of thick and fuzzy. But back in the 80s, my dad added this weird little mod thing controlled by this switch. It turns it on and off, and then it's a rate sort of here. And what it does is it inserts a sine wave into the delay time, I believe is how he explained it to me. And it makes it like super glitchy and warbly. I haven't really found a decent use for it yet, but I love just playing around with it at home. It's in the line selector loop because there's no on-off switch. You're supposed to like put it on a mixing desk and just run a microphone through it. So I'm going to go through a couple of the settings with that first. So it's kind of metallic, harsh sounding. It's got that like, you know, in a metal box type sound. I don't typically use it as a reverb, but you can get a decent like kind of boingy spring out of it. If that's your jam, which it's not mine. This glitch thing here, the rate knob controls kind of how often the sine wave happens, if that makes sense. It inserts the sine wave into the delay time, and it's always the same size of sine wave. It's just with the rate up, it's just doing it a whole bunch. I don't know if that's coming across. Maybe it'll make sense when I actually play through it, but this is what that sounds like with the rate down low. Also, the other thing, I don't know if you can hear the noise there, but it's like really loopy. There. And then if you turn it way up, it's almost like a, I don't know if that's coming through in the recording. It's like a subtle like rotary effect. Although it is quite that's what that sounds like. I usually like to have it with the repeats and the depth down. It's a little more subtle, especially when you get into the really kind of weird. So that's that side of it. I'm going to turn this off, those down, volume down. And this is what the distortion sounds like. So it's kind of thick, fizzy top end. It sounds, I really like the sound of it. Just as a bass rhythm tone, there's not much else out there that sounds like it, which is why I like it so much. And it actually stacks pretty well with my Kingslayer, which I usually have it right about here as a solo tone. Really clean up well with the volume knob. Just kind of sounds like that. One of the settings I love on it is if you turn it down, if I can boost the volume just a little bit. Body Snatchers tone, which is actually what I believe Tom York used in the studio. I think it sounds great. If I had a guitar with humbuckers, it would sound even closer, but... So that is the Radioshack Realistic Electronic Reverb and how I use it. Just gonna retune really quick. Next in the chain is a vintage Ibanez CS9 stereo chorus. This was sitting in the back of my dad's old practice amp for years and years and years until I started using it. It was one of the first pedals I started using. It's the reason I love chorus so much. Love the sound out of it. It's just got controls for speed and depth, so I usually don't even make sure I have it set specifically before I use it, as long as it's not up too high. It's a little too much, but anywhere here, that's how I use it. It stacks really well with my drives. Much else to that. Does chorus things. Next is my semi-recently acquired Boss DD500. I won't go into too much detail about it because we'd be here all day. I'll just flip through some of my some presets I've made and some presets I have found on the internet. One of my all-time favorite delay sounds is the Old Blood Noise Endeavors Black Fountain, and someone on the DD500 owners Facebook group made a preset that sounds like the Black Fountain, and it's one of my favorite presets for it. This is what it sounds like. When it's in stereo, it has a kind of like automatic left-right panning that adds to that warble. The next one I have is called the Golden Ratio, and it's two intersecting delay lines that I don't know. Analog Kid will know who first did it. Two intersecting delay lines that never meet up because they're set at the golden ratio, which is 1.61 or 1.16 something. I don't know exactly what it is. If you Google golden ratio, it'll explain it better than I can. But this mode that someone on the Facebook group made, it's got super long feedback, really great modulation in it. It sounds heavenly. And because the sound of it, like the tempos are quite different, it's kind of amorphous sounding, so it works really well for a lot of stuff, but it mostly just works well for swells. Perfect for ambient stuff, especially when you really stack the RV5, which I'll get to later. But I play with that one a lot, just kind of get lost in it. Yeah, what do I have next? This is a weird thing that I made using the assign function to modulate the delay time from 0 to 300 milliseconds on an analog delay, and it sounds kind of like, or at least what I think, what I remember from watching demos of the Earthquaker Devices Rainbow Machine, and it's just kind of weird. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but it's a lot of fun. That is something else. Going the wrong way here. Still going the wrong way. This is an analog delay patch. I called Tonal Recall just because I didn't really know what else to do, but it uses the assign function to modulate the feedback in a sine wave from about 40 to 90 at a decently slow rate, so it kind of goes in and out of oscillation as you play. And it means the trails have kind of a non-linear air about them. They go down and then back up a little bit, and then down and then back up a little bit. just a touch out of hand. This is a tape preset that I did that started out as me trying to recreate a preset that I had on the El Capistan that I had before this thing, and kind of morphed into something else. But so it's got a lot of high end, a little bit of warble. Tap is set to eighth notes. Yeah, that's what that sounds like. And I feel like I've got, oh yeah, one more. It's similar to that Rainbow Machine preset. It's on the Terra Echo mode, and it's modulating the delay time from 0 to 700 milliseconds, up and down in a sine wave. And it just sounds so weird. Decent sized feedback, so it just kind of keeps going when the delay time is longer, but as it goes down it kind of like snaps up. That's that. It's pretty cool. Last in my chain is Boss RV5. Like I said, I've had it on the modulate mode the whole time. At this low volume, you can't really hear the modulations, but when it's up higher, setting. This is Madbean City. I usually have the tone most of the way down because it can get kind of bright. I usually either have it all the way down or kind of about 9 o'clock. And other than the modulate, I mostly just use the hall mode, which sounds like that. On similar tone settings, usually at lower volumes and time, right about there. It's kind of the... without getting too obtrusive, maybe a little less on the time, a little lower on the effect level. I don't use any of the other modes just because I don't really like them. This plate doesn't interest me. The spring mode's kind of gross on this thing. If I want a room reverb, I'll just turn the hall down. And then I don't really like the gate, and that's kind of all that there is to that one. And that is the board as it stands. Thanks for watching. I'm going to do a little bit of a jam, if I can, without breaking my amp. We'll see if it happens or not. I was trying to do it at the start. Yep, there we go. So what's happening there is it's something is triggering the relay, and it's switching between the drive channel and the clean channel, and sometimes the drive channel just has no signal. It happened during a gig a couple weeks ago, and that was not fun. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye.